Hey, and welcome back to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. Yeah, you know what? You may catch me having a little bit of a pause moment, but you know what? I'm angry about right now tonight to see that I don't have on I'm not displaying my Batman, my usual Batman, the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader, the Avenger. I'm not wearing that. That is only because I'm very upset about a couple of things and how certain things are going about. Okay. But first, what I want to do is that I want each and every one of you, if you're listening to the show, if you're watching, I want us to take a moment, I want us to have a moment of silence for the Chicago police officer that was murdered while in the performance of her duty. Police officer Ella French, who on August 7th at approximately 9:15 was gunned down by another individual. So right now we're going to have us a little moment of silence for this officer. Okay. Now I'm going to get right into this first and foremost. On August 7th, and this was roughly a week ago, August 7th, Officer French and her partner, right now at the time it was at the time he was an unnamed officer, but the officer's name is Carlos Yanez. That's Yanaz, Carlos Yanez, and another unnamed officer were on patrol. They were part of the city's safety team. Basically, they were assigned to help with the ongoing violence that we are dealing with here in the city of Chicago. Okay. And what we have here is that in that process, they basically stopped the vehicle for expired tags, basically the expired tags. And in that vehicle, there were 3 occupants. 2 of the occupants who turned out to be the offenders. One individual by the name of Imante Morgan, 21, gangbanger, and his brother Eric Imante, 19, also affiliated. And there's a third person who has not been charged. So I'm going to set the stage for you on what happened and how this situation, I don't care what you say, how this situation, it affects all of us. The city has been robbed of a good officer. The city has been robbed of an individual who was just trying to do their job. And this individual who didn't want to comply decided that he was not going to go to jail. So if you know, at times I have the luxury of getting hold of certain information when it's certain when you have things like this. And I was able to look at some of the video and listen to some of the radio traffic. The radio traffic from school, what they call when officers are on the are on duty, they're broken up into zones, or they're broken up into zones. And so when they're requesting assistance or information, they reference squad. They say, okay, if it's the district car saying it's 723 and there's 723 squad, and then squad will kick back, go ahead 23, blah 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 blah. Now, what happened on this particular night is that you had these 3 individuals. Basically, you had one individual. Both of these individuals are felons. They got convictions, both for robbery. And they're, one of them, Amante, He is the accused shooter of these officers. Okay. So subsequently, when the car was pulled over, they approached the vehicle and they observed that three occupants were in the car. Eric Morgan was in the driver's seat with alcohol in his hand. There was a female passenger, and the alleged shooter, Imante Morgan, was in the back seat. So at this particular point, they asked all individuals to get out of the car, which is typical and standard. Now, here's the thing: I'm gonna get into a lot of specifics too, and we have to understand certain things that it is a dangerous time, not only for police officers but for just regular Joes, regular individuals who are just walking the streets, minding their own business. Just a sidebar: there was a woman, excuse me, there was a woman who was just out for a jog yesterday morning and was run down. Her and another woman, two women run down. One was killed on a sidewalk in Wrigleyville, literally across the street from the Town Hall District Police Station, literally across the street. This is a dangerous time because we have people out here who just do not give a good goddamn. Now, wait a minute before I even go any further, because got to bring out the swear jar. Got to bring that out. And to a degree, we could say this is crazy. We could say this is ridiculous. We could say this is just out of control. It's been that way. It's just that we have people who just do not give a damn, who just don't care. Now you have these two individuals who are out to no good. You're sitting in a car drinking. You got one that has a firearm on him. Okay. So as these officers approach, Officer Ella French approached the driver's side, her partner on the passenger side. Ella French takes the keys and she asks the driver to step out, who at that time was identified as Eric Morgan. He steps out. He complies. The passenger steps out. She complies. They ask Imante Morgan, who was in the rear, the back seat, to step out, and not only that, but to empty his drink and put his cell phone down on the car. They want to be able to see his hands. At this particular point, from reports and from video, a confrontation ensued with Imante Morgan and the other officer. This particular point, Eric, the driver, he runs off. A scuffle ensues inside the vehicle between the two officers, Carlos Yanez and Ella French. At this particular point, they're trying to disarm this individual, Imante Morgan, who is fighting with them. And it's at this particular point, Imante Morgan discharges his weapon, striking both officers, killing Ella French, striking her in the head and striking the other officer 3 times, once in the face, once in the cheek, which lodged in his brain, and the other one is lodged in his shoulder. The third officer, who was on scene, was in a foot pursuit of Eric Morgan, who, once the officer heard shots, he went back to see his colleagues shot and wounded. At that particular point, now this is when this is listening to the radio traffic. Once the term 10-1, 10-1, 10-1, that means officer down, officer needs assistance, goes out. Then sometimes they go to what they call a citywide. That means that any and all units that are available get to that location, which happened to be that night, August 7th, 2021, which happens. This incident happened at 63rd and Bell, where the memorial is set up is at 6328 South Bell. This officer comes back and begins to life-saving measures on the 2 wounded officers. And at the same time, he gets into a gun battle himself with Imante Morgan, who is just up the block, and another gun battle ensues. And at this particular point, he strikes the offender, hitting him 3 times, and then he's taken into custody. People from the community, I kid you not, I can't make this up. This is exactly how the report went out. People from the community grabbed Eric Morgan and held him for police. By this time, the area, or what they call the zone, is flooded with officers listening to the radio traffic. And it's really, and I have to and I have to really commend the dispatcher for squad who happened to be the one taking the call when these officers were shot. You talk about cool, calm, and collected while trying to delegate and supervise and keep everybody, and trying to keep himself calm as well as keeping his officer. And I kid you not, in the radio traffic, while he's talking and he's telling everybody to get to the area, get to these officers, and the next thing was, are the offenders in custody? And someone said yes. Someone, now I kid you not, I can't make this up. I even had to play it back myself several times to make sure that I heard what I heard. Someone said after the shooting, they said, take them to the morgue. Operative word. Because see, this is the anger that is flowing through because one of their own has gone down. So at this particular point, you have they scoop the officers up and they put them in separate vehicles. One car has Ella French, the other car has Yanis, and they're both heading over to the University of Chicago. One car went straight down 63rd, and the other one went down 55th and Garfield. And listening to the dispatcher giving orders, telling people where the officers should go, that the ambo bays should be open by the time those cars get there with these wounded officers. Also getting supervisors on location, getting the offenders, making sure the offenders are in custody, seeing that one has been shot. And there was a little bit of a riff on where they were to go. Someone said, take them to the University of Chicago. And that dispatcher said, no, that's where my officers are. That's a bad idea. To the point where a commander had to come in and say, no, take them to Christ. The whole point is to separate these two because you have a very difficult, hot situation. Now I'm going to pause for a moment to on the story. People, we gathered that this is a very difficult time for ourselves and the community with police. I understand that. I understand that better than most people think, because make no mistake, even though there is a rift, and I've had my run-ins with police. There was me, and this was years ago, and I was driving a school bus, and me and a sergeant got into it. And I mean, we literally got into it. One word led to another, and a scuffle between myself and him ensued. Primarily because I was quoting the letter of the law to him. I knew the law, and he couldn't. And the bottom line, he's looking at this nigger as, who are you to tell me the law? I am the law. And see, that's the problem when we talk about law and law enforcement. We have to fully understand something here. There's law and then there's law enforcement. The law is like a well-oiled machine. The law works, people. Make no mistake about it. The law works. It works when you do not tamper or interfere with it. The only reason that it doesn't work now is because of the people who are in control of the law. That's why it's like a car. It's like when you drive in your car. If the car is parked, it can do you no harm. It can't do you any harm. It's when the car is in gear. It's when the car is when a person who's in possession of the keys, they turn and they start the car up, put it in gear, and they start out in traffic. That's when it becomes dangerous. Not the car itself. It's the individual who is in control of that vehicle. That's how that works. It's no different with law enforcement, no different with the letter of the law. The law works. And understand something. How many of you all have been victims? In fact, just I'm gonna ask my engineer. Have you Earl? Have you ever been a victim of a crime? Okay. Now he says he's been. Now, at that particular point in time, who was the first person that you called? Now you call police. Now, granted, this is being truthful. Now, me and Earl, we from time to time, and correct me if I'm wrong, we will differ on the politics of policing. There's some things that I disagree with. There's some things that he disagrees with. But we understand that there's a point to where there's a commonality that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. These are basically our first line of defense. These are the people that we call when we're in trouble. These are the people, because here's the thing, and I've said this before. There are three people when you are in trouble. There are three people that you call. You call on God, you call the police, and you call your mama. Those are the three people that you call. Make no mistake about that. So we can't, here's, and the thing, and the conversation, it's been said to me, and I've even been told, say, okay, you're pro-police. Yes, I'm pro-police when it works, when you have the right people behind the badge and they're doing the job. And I'll understand something. I heard a retired police officer say this, just to get the feel, the pulse. And she went on to say, make no mistake, I don't do this for the money. I do this to make a difference. I do this because I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the idea of helping people. I enjoy the fact that people can rely on me or depend on me when they are in trouble. That's one of the things, and like I, and having worked here and having worked on, different TV shows, particularly Chicago PD, particularly that show. And the fact of the level of realism that it brings, and yes, some of the things that you will see, there are some things that are actual, and yes, there are, when we talk about, and this is sidebar, when we talk about the character Hank Voight, who is the sergeant and who runs the intelligence team. Now, a lot of people, they don't care too much for him. There are even people outside of the scope of Hollywood say, well, you know what? He's just indicative of Chicago police. No, but you have to understand, sometimes there are things that you need to do in order to get the job done. We don't complain when we're using those methods to get the job done, to get what we need to get done, to have the type of justice that we need and that people deserve. For example, and I'm gonna get back to this. I'm gonna get back to the killing of this police officer. But for example, just yesterday, and I can't even call them human beings. These animals doing a drive-by shooting and shot two little girls, 1 6, 1 7. The 7-year-old died. And you know what? And the sad part about it, the last words this little 7-year-old girl said was, "Mommy, it's not your fault." How is that any type of consolation for this mother to know that she has to bury her 7-year-old daughter with a hole in her head? And the other one, 6 years old, is in hospital fighting for her life. See, we have to understand that guns don't kill people. And get ready, because this is definitely going to go into the swear jar. Guns don't kill people. Stupid motherfuckers with guns kill people. That's the truth. And we have to we have to look at that. When we look at the issue of straw buyers, meaning that John Doe buys a gun to give to John Q, who in turn gives it to John D, who needs it. And these two knuckleheads are not allowed to be in possession of guns. Make no mistake, if you had stronger gun law, well, let me rephrase that. It's not about making stronger gun laws. It is about strengthening the current laws to where you get caught with a gun because you're not supposed to have one, meaning that you are some piece of shit scumbag felon and out here with a gun and you're shooting and killing people. Now, going back to the situation that night, these two Earl said as a question, he had a very good question. This is what I like. And he said, well, how did they catch these two knuckleheads? How did they catch these two guys so quickly, but they can't catch everybody else? Well, sometimes, as law enforcement say, sometimes you get lucky. Here's the thing about these two ass wipes. They didn't even have sense enough to run far enough away from the scene. They got caught by neighbors, and one of them decided to get into another gun battle with police. This is once again, we're talking about the gang that can't shoot straight. Oh, wait a minute. Not to mention that after he shot let me rephrase that. After he allegedly, because when you're talking about someone being accused of something, you have to use your words carefully. So right now, even though he's accused of doing it, we have to use the term alleged. This is what we have to do. So the alleged gunman, after shooting these two officers, he is seen. What now? Now the good thing is that these officers had on body cams, so everything is caught on body cam from the moment from the traffic stop all the way through to the incident, to where you see Imante Morgan standing over the bodies of the two wounded officers at the time. That just shows you how smart he is. Okay, that just shows how smart he really is. So yes, I am a supporter of law enforcement, and particularly in the city that I live in, the Chicago Police Department. I may not agree with a lot of things that they do, but you know what? You have to. They're using what they have, and when we get to a point where these asshole politicians want to handcuff them because they don't have the balls themselves to go out there and do a ride along or to see what's really going on. Some of you individuals want to play Monday morning quarterback. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. So, and it gets better with this case. So once they got these officers to the trauma center, definitely they went in, but unfortunately they were not able to save the life of police officer Ella French. And at that particular point, you could see the hurt and the anger come across those officers that were there. And the fact that the other officer is still to right now, last report, he is still in the hospital fighting for his life because some piece of shit didn't want to comply, or he didn't want to go to jail because he is in possession of a gun that he's not supposed to have, that someone else bought for him. This is what I'm talking about. We have to fully understand something, that law enforcement, police officers, and we have to and understand this, people. Understand this. I've said this before. Yes, there are good police officers, and then there are bad police officers. The problem is that the bad officers have been allowed to run roughshod over a department, whether it's LAPD, whether it's NYPD, whether it's Dallas PD, Minneapolis PD, CPD, Atlanta PD, Charles City PD, Billings PD. It doesn't matter. Bad police is bad police. It does not matter. The problem comes in is that when you realize that you have bad police, it is your duty as a commander, as a sergeant, to remove them from your unit because they will completely poison. They will poison a department, and at the same time, if they are allowed to continue to operate with impunity, like John Burge did under Richie Daley, that asshole. John Burge was allowed to operate once with impunity, and Richard Daley knew this. Richard Daley, yeah, he knew this. He knew this. This is the very reason. This is one of the reasons why, or there was in 1982 there was two police officers that were killed during a traffic stop on 81st and Morgan in 1980 in February 1982. There were two, and the two officers, Fahey and O'Brien. I mean, truth be told, you don't get no more Irish than that. You really don't. You really don't. Fahey and O'Brien. These two officers stopped two black guys, two brothers, Andrew and Jackie Wilson. They pulled them over. They got out the car, and it is alleged that Andrew Wilson shot and killed both officers. One officer died on the scene. The other officer died the next day. So subsequently, the city, they turned this, and I won't forget it. I'll never forget it, that they turned this city upside down looking for these two cop killers. Once they found them, and then they got him in custody. But at the same time, Jackie Wilson maintained his one of the Wilson brothers. One is deceased, and the other one had maintained his innocence, that he never pulled the trigger. And subsequently, one of the Wilson brothers basically had his conviction overturned because of the conduct of John Burge and his detectives, and at the same time, Richard Daley Jr., who was the state's attorney at that time. Now, this guy is why he has wound up suing the city, the estate of John Burge, any and all detectives who are still part of the force or who are still alive, and he's suing the former state's attorney, or Richard Daley. He's suing all of them, and he very well should. That is a prime example of the system not working because of the people who are in charge. That is a prime example. Now let's fast forward, and I kid you not, this is just ironic. Let's fast forward to 2021, August 7th to 2021. You have two brothers, go figure, who took the life of one officer and tried to take the life of two others. Okay. Now, let's just talk about these two animals, and that's exactly what they are. And then you think about you think about the animal that bred them and brought them into this world to only do this to another human being. So we get to this part. Once they're taken into custody, they're both being held without bond, which is standard. They're never, these two individuals, they will never see the light of day. And I just feel sorry, and I just pity. I won't say feel sorry. I just pity the attorney, because nobody's going to pay for them for a real attorney. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're not going to get private attorneys. They're going to get the dumbest, the stupidest penitentiary deliverer, or PD, that they can find in that office, because they want a conviction. These are cop killers. They're going to prison for the rest of their natural lives. Make no mistake about that. They're going to prison. If they don't, it's a trick to it. Let me tell you, it's a trick to it. So fast forward a little bit. Let's fast forward about 4 or 5 days. So Imante, who is in custody, in the hospital, and in police custody. Okay. And standard procedure, when you have someone who's been shot and in police custody, there is not there. Yes, there is that, you're under police guard. Okay. So the mother, this ratchet heifer, she decides to storm into the hospital where this animal that she brought into the world, and she creates all kinds of nonsense. I can't make this up, people. I saw the video that she was smart. How do I put it? She was so smart, she's stupid, that she recorded the entire incident of her, quote unquote, attacking hospital security and two Chicago police officers. She's yelling and screaming, I want to see my son, Imante, or Monte, because they call him Monte. I want to see my son. He didn't shoot anybody. He didn't shoot. The police are setting him up. This, that, and the other. I'm like, lady, you know what? You sound like the typical mother who, when you have these rat bastard animal of sons that you have let loose on the city or let loose on society, and you know that these guys are scumbags. Now let's I'm gonna pause there. Let's talk about first. Let's talk about the alleged shooter. Let's talk about it. Let's go. Okay, looking at his background on the trouble that he's been in. Okay, so you have Imante Morgan, who was 21, who was on probation for a August 2019 strong arm robbery. Help me understand that. How do you get probation? Wait a minute. Oh, you know how he gets probation? Because first-time offenders are allotted that. First-time offenders are allotted probation depending on the nature of the crime. And 9 times out of 10, they deal 9 times out of 10, because remember, you know who else, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. Who is the state's attorney for the who is the Cook County State's attorney? Ah, yes, that heifer, Kim Foxx. Who has created a maelstrom of dummying down certain crimes, taking them from felonies to misdemeanors. And this is the problem that we're having. Not only that, but the police superintendent has said the same thing. This is the problem that we're getting. Because here's the thing. Why do you think when the looting took place, when George Floyd got killed, and you saw police not intervening? You saw police standing off to the side. You saw police not doing anything. You know why? Because everything that these people took did not amount to $1,000. Kim Foxx raised retail theft from $500 to $1,000, meaning that all they would get is a slap on the wrist. They would get a desk ticket and a slap on the wrist. What's the point? This is why Superintendent David Brown and Kim Foxx are at odds. Kim Foxx won't admit it, but I'm gonna tell you, this situation here with this cop getting killed, this right here is such a stain. That you thought the Jesse Smollett situation was bad. I always say, I said this before. What do you tell a man with 2 black eyes? Nothing. He's already been told twice. And Kim Foxx is that man with 2 black eyes. The Jesse Smollett was the first one. Now you got a dead cop because of these animals that you let back out on the street because of your policy. You got 2 black eyes. There it is right there. And truth be told, she needs to go. Because let's be honest, because crime is at an all-time high. Crime this time last year, here's the thing. Crime right now, crime in itself, we're talking about murders, robberies, sexual assaults, home invasions are at an all-time high. They're up 279% from last year. 279% since she's been in office. Here's the thing. I live here. Do you honestly think I want to be a victim? Here's a good example. I'll give you a good example. I'm doing a job today. And if it sounds like I'm very angry and animated, you goddamn right I am, because we're living, you're handcuffing our police, and then you're forcing private citizens to live in a sense of fear because Kim Foxx has emboldened criminals to do what they do, because now they operate with impunity. Me and my partner are doing a job today, and we were afraid to leave our vehicles because we seen 2 niggas coming up the walkway looked like they were up to something. One with dreads, and they looked like they were. We didn't move. I kid you not, because of, and not only that, because of the area that we were working in. See what's happening? You've put this is put. See and then when you have police officers to a point, and I kid you not, when you have officers that refuse to get out of their vehicles and to intervene, or who don't want to be involved, that is a problem because of the lack of support. Why am I locking these individuals up when all you're gonna do is give them a misdemeanor ticket and they walk right out the door? That's why half of the shops that you see on the south and west side have not recouped, because the insurance, because one, they couldn't afford the insurance, and two, none of these people will ever see the inside of a jail or be prosecuted. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You rat bastards. Thank you very much. We're in a situation to where you wonder why police officers are responding the way that they are, because they're not getting the support, not only from the state's attorney's office, but it makes it difficult for us as a community to back them based on two things. Two things. Bad police, and I cannot stress that. Bad police. Officers that are out here doing things that they shouldn't. Make no mistake, when you put this badge on, no dirt should be on it. No blood should be on it. You should be on reproach. We have it's one of the things too. Now, going back to these ass wipes. Here's the other thing. We have a lot of these mothers, and I'm not talking about these mother fathers. I'm talking about these mothers, and some of your sons are out here doing this, out here with guns and shooting and shit and killing and all this kind of carrying on, but you are emboldening them. You are protecting them. You're not making them accountable. See, what's happened is that you've turned these boys, see, a lot of these mothers, and see, let me pause there. Let me pause there, and I'm going to come back to that. You take these boys' mother, who is 41 years old, her damn self, and she gets into an altercation with police. Now, here's the part that really F's me up. How is it that she can here's the thing. She managed to get into the hospital, get into a secured area, assault police officers, and all she got was a death ticket. She resisting arrest. Last I checked, resisting arrest or resisting a peace officer or assaulting a peace officer is a felony. She's charged with a misdemeanor. Are you effing kidding me? Oh, once again, thank for that heifer, Kim Fox. You're dropping this down and you're killing people. I hope, I really do. Really hope Kim Fox can sleep. You know what? I wonder how she sleeps at night. Knowing not only that, because I guarantee you, they catch the son bitch that shot and killed that 7-year-old girl. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be some FF with a felony. Somebody who was just in Kim Fox's office. And what'd you do? You give him a slap on the wrist. This is where we're at. This is why we're at this particular point. This is why we're at this point. I'm gonna read a comment right quick. I have a listener that says, "Be clear." She said, "Now this is talking about the two brothers. Sounds like the mother has enabled them. Some of us mothers hold, and this is two parts. Some of the mothers enable these children, and some of the mothers hold their children accountable." And I agree. And she's absolute. And my listener, Sandra, is absolutely right. Absolutely right. There's a point to where we have to hold our children accountable. There's no effing way that if my child, first of all, if you living under my goddamn roof, and whatever time it is. If you're not in my house at 10 o'clock, where the hell are you? Because understand something, you're gonna get a mouth shot as soon as you come in the door. You don't like my rules? There's the door. Make your way. Put big feet in the road. Get your black ass in the house. It's too much shit going on out here in the world for you to be out there doing what you doing. So she gets in there, acts a complete fool, and she's charged. But once again, this right here does not help her son's cause. It just goes into what they already knew, what they're already looking at. Now let's go to let me finish with Imante, the alleged shooter. He was on probation for not an alleged, but for a strong arm robbery, no less. Okay, according to the report, he was going to meet up with someone to purchase a phone. Him and his brother showed up for the deal, and they attacked the man and took the phone. The man identified them. Okay, so you get robbery. You get probation for robbery. No community service, no nothing. You get probation. Okay. Now let's fast forward to April of this year. April of this year, Imante is involved in a hit and run. Now, if anybody knows more than I do, and I have no problem with that, help me understand. Is not a hit and run considered a felony? Wait. A hit and run with injuries or death, isn't it? I thought sure, according to my studies, that's a felony. So Amante Morgan, once again behind the wheel of a vehicle, struck a man on a bike in a bike path, hit him so hard, knocked him into a traffic sign, injuring him severely. Here it is. So here's the thing. Now, if you're on probation, correct me if I'm wrong, people, and if some, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you, if some of you, if you can, if you want to, if you can't get through it, you're too busy, you can text me. You can, if you watch me on YouTube, whatever, just little chats. But last I checked, that hit and run was a felony. Oh, wait a minute. This is what happened. So when Amante got caught and arrested, seeing that he was on probation, Kim Fox's office dropped the hit and run down to a misdemeanor. Wow. Her office dropped. Here's the thing. See, you have to understand how the office of the state's attorney or the district attorney or the prosecutor works. Whoever the top law enforcement officer is, or whoever the district attorney, prosecutor, or state's attorney is, remember, all of that comes before you. You are the one that looks at this and says yay or nay. You are the one that looks at this and say, yes, this is going to be a felony. Yes, this is going to be a misdemeanor. Wait a minute, hold on. Let's be honest. Let's be truthful about this. See, and I said this almost 2 years ago. Kim Fox does not know what she's doing. She's a child in an adult world with clown shoes on. Kim Fox spent her career cutting her teeth in the juvenile court system. She tried juveniles. She tried juveniles for felonies. There's a difference when you go to the big boy house, when you go to the big boy room. There's a difference because there are all types of avenues for felonies. Her excuse is, well, I don't want to clog up the court system. Lose me. I want her to, I really hope that she thinks about the fact that if we had have had have violated him immediately, because at some point or another, Imonte and Eric, both of them had to go and had to report to their probation officer, whether it's every 30 days or every 60 days or every 90 days. At some point, I remember a point in time to where if you violated your probation, they called you in. They would tell you, you got exactly this amount of time to be in my office. They didn't give you a court date. You got brought in and then you went to court the next day after you saw your probation officer. That's how that worked. Oh, that's right. Because Kim Fox has never tried she's never tried an adult felony case. She has no idea how adult probation works. I mean, really. Truth be told, I mean, how many tables does she have to bend over to get this job? Because there are people who are not happy. This is not only the superintendent David Brown. This is Eddie Johnson, going back to him, that he was upset on how she ran this office and how you keep a revolving door of these offenders one after another. But I'm gonna tell you, she broke, and I'm gonna tell you, this is no knock against this particular one, but she went out of her way to make sure Robert Sylvester Kelly got locked up. She went out of her way and made sure he got felony charges. Was she upset because nobody looks her way? Because I'm going to tell you, she's hard to look at. Make no mistake about that. Yes, tonight I'm being very critical. I'm not holding no punches back, because a lot of this, understand something. Even if it wasn't this police officer, I'm thinking about that 7-year-old girl who was who's sitting in the car with her mother and shot along with her 6-year-old sister. Because what happens is that the state's attorney's office has emboldened these animals to do what they do. And they have handcuffed our police department along with these jackass politicians. And not to mention Lori Lightfoot. You listen, I'm not going to spare her either. Lori Lightfoot showed up at the hospital after the night that these two officers were shot. And 100 officers, when she walked down the corridor, these officers turned their backs on her, and she walked down a corridor with every officer with their back to her. And I absolutely uphold them in doing that, because she has not given them the support that they need. They're out here risking their lives each and every day for total strangers, for people who don't give a damn, for people who don't give a damn about themselves. They protect a city that actively dislikes them. But they do it every day. And make no mistake, it ain't for the money. I guarantee you that it ain't for the money. I don't care if it is 6 figures, 7 figures. It ain't for the money. There are officers out here who do the job, and they do it well. I myself am friends with several police officers, law enforcement. And some of the stories I hear, some of the things that goes on, and then you just shake your head, and you just have to applaud them. But also I tell them, I also say, we have to admit that there are some officers that should not be. There are some people who shouldn't be on the force. That should not wear the badge. They should not put that uniform on, because their ideology is not where it should be, or they've lost their way, or even to a point they've been on the force too long. Entirely too long. But I think the anger for the president the FOP, or the Fraternal Order of Police, John Cannizzaro, you know, I have to, I have to, he you know what, the word I was looking for, he's a cop, he's a cop's cop to a certain degree. And when I say, when people say that, they say, what do you mean? Well, he's been on the line, he's been on the front lines. He's been on the front lines. And that's the thing. Hey, welcome to the show. Who do I have and where are you calling from?
This is Jay from Georgia.
All right. Go.
Well, I just wanted to say briefly that condolences go out to the family of the officers that were affected. But to piggyback on what you were saying, this is the direct product of a failed criminal justice system. When you have prosecutors and judges who do not use the very good judgment for the interest of public safety, because that's what this is about, the interest of public safety. And you have the district attorneys who do not fight for the advocacy of the victims as they should. Then we have, as you said, and I could not agree with you more, these animals who are released from their cages without their restraints. And we have to be very clear that we live in a society where there truly are different classes or different species living among us. We all may have the form and likeness of humans, but we don't operate as that. Some of us are really in a very primal existence. I'm not sure if most of you guys have looked at the very video or the response from these two loose dogs, their mother's response that, oh, they didn't do what they claimed that they did. The police are lying, and that you cannot trust the Chicago police or any police department because they always are trying to demonize the victim. Now, the problem I have with that is that is exactly the wrong narrative, and it is the aggressor who's using the victim mentality.
Right.
You are the reason, and you are the breeder of these loose dogs who have been more than a menace to everyone's sanity and picnic in the park. Let's be very clear. I am certain that these two men have some sort of previous criminal activity. I won't go as far as say record, but they have criminal activity.
Well, let me interrupt you right quick. I'm gonna give you the information. Both of them, both Imante Morgan and Eric Morgan, both have a background. That's the proper word you're looking for, is a background. And both in robbery, both were on probation for the very for robbery. And not only that, but Imante Morgan caught another case where he was involved in a hit and run that the state's attorney dropped from a felony to a misdemeanor. And the man that he hit sustained serious injury. As you said, a broken system. And this is a person who unfortunately the Democratic machine and a lot of blacks gave the keys to a Maserati to a knucklehead who has no idea how to drive a stick.
Well, because she came from the other side of the tracks, that her side of the people don't get a fair shake in law enforcement. And I'm totally with that narrative if the person is competent and qualified. She's neither. And because she has neither of those, she becomes more of a detriment than an actual improvement to the office.
Go ahead. This is the kind of person.
This is the prime example of what happens when you let entitlement rule instead of competency. When privilege overwhelms actual proven record. See, this is almost in a weird sense reverse racism.
Yeah.
Because you elevated someone to a position of power that they were not fit or competent to wield the power that you've given them. But you did it to try to right wrongs that were previously done by people who knowingly did wrong and bad things.
Exactly. I'm you know what? I'm glad that you saw that and said, and this is the proverbial thing. This is the trying to trying to stop a sinking ship with the rag when it's already underwater.
It's already underwater. And here you go saying, you know what? Here's a towel. This might help.
This is
we gotta understand that you know what? America could learn a lot from South Africa. And they could learn a lot from South Africa in really addressing the systemic problems of racism and this whole dynamic that continues to literally pollute every other area of our society. It's almost like a black mold. Once you get black mold into your house, into the ventilation system, the entire place eventually has to become condemned. And we're on a accelerated course to that becoming our norm. To further that point, every place that we touch and we put our fingerprint on, we pollute, and that place goes down like a rocket ship toward hell. Look at the situation with Afghanistan, where we went over there and swung our, big mandingo to show them we've got this whole thing of diplomacy and democracy together. Let us show you how to do it, and we'll show you how to get it done right. And now what are we doing? Getting our asses out of there because we done got kicked to hell by a bunch of, as they say, excuse my French, cow heads in caves. So, cow heads in caves have become the chief thorn in your side and have blown to hell more soldiers and more supposedly technically advanced people in the last 20 years than in any other war we've seen since the Civil War. Mm-hmm. Something's wrong with this. But getting back to the core thing, which is this officer in our criminal justice system, we've got to address this from a street-to-street, house-to-house situation. This is a direct result of poor fabrics within communities. And when you have communities that don't have the fabrics and the pillars that help sustain a couple of things: decency, a code of conduct, and honor amongst themselves, there's nothing any other person or organization can do.
Very true.
Because you're dealing with literally an animalistic existence. Have you ever tried to organize monkeys? Organize cats?
Herding cats.
Without those pillars, we are doing nothing less than herding cats and trying to organize or make a democracy out of monkeys. Until we come to that realization and we really take a strong look at the mirror and our failures, we'll never get to the bottom of this. And there will continue to be this divide between law enforcement and the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to help, which is just going to drive more animosity and even more violence. And the mayor, by the way, she probably should step down. She has so failed in the handling of the pandemic, failed in handling the violence, failed in any capacity to maintain a large and economic metropolis in 2021 and 2020. It's an embarrassment to even mention the city of Chicago, because the next question is, have you been shot yet?
That
gotta do something different.
Gotta be something different.
All right, thank you.
All right. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. I mean, we're to a point where we're herding cats, and this just came across my feed. People want level of transparency. The unfortunate part, when we're talking about the fact that these officers had body cams on, the fact that it's of a sensitive and violent nature, and the fact that this is still an ongoing investigation, as per our COPA, or the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. The body cam of the fatal shooting of Officer French will not be released. Okay, and I can I can surmise, I can explain why, only because of the nature of what is on it. And not only that, but this also does not, this also, when this case goes to trial, and make no mistake, this is a case that's going to go to trial very, very quickly, because very quickly, they don't want to jeopardize, they don't want to tip their hand or jeopardize the jeopardize the trial, anything, because it's going to be very, very difficult for these knuckleheads to say, I didn't do it. You were the only ones on scene, and too many people saw you. I didn't do it. So, and another note is that, I myself personally, and you don't have to, and you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to share this. The arrangements for Officer French have been finalized, and the visitations will be Wednesday at St. Rita's. And yes, if some of you are scratching your head or wondering if I would be going, absolutely, because this is a person. This is because sometimes we have to do these things to show our support for law enforcement, even in the most dire and tragic circumstances. We have to show our support, because these are some of the same people who rush to gunfire when other people are running away. Who rush to gunfire when other people are running away. So, and that, that being a somber note, it's very, and it's difficult, it really, really is, and in law enforcement, when an officer goes down, there is an acronym called EOW. And right now, for Officer Ella French, EOW means end of watch. And her end of watch for Ella French, August 7th, 2001. And with that being said, not my monkey, not my circus. Need you all to be more active and work with our community in blue. Work with our police officers. If you see something, say something. If you know something, you don't always have to leave your name. You can be anonymous. But that's the only way that things are going to change. See y'all next week.